the most feared event, Hell Week.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your experience in Hell Week.
So I had a summer Hell Week, which is an important distinction to make for those in the know. I had Hell Week in July or June. It was June of 2011.
Let me give some context. So there is this big rivalry, winter Hell Week and summer Hell Week. So the way it goes is winter Hell Week, they will utilize the cold to make you quit more so than a summer Hell Week, even though the water is still freezing ass.
Yeah,
it's pretty much the same all year round. It's just the air is colder. Summer Hell Week, you're going to get your ass kicked more.
Yeah.
And they're going to physically exhaust you, knock the shit out of you more. And so there is a trade-off.
Yeah, I do think they attempt to even it out. But I think it's definitely the case that winter Hell Weeks get like that's harder, I think. So we had a summer Hell Week, which I was very grateful for, because going into Hell Week, I was like everybody else, very worn down from the first 3 weeks of training. But yeah, I mean, honestly, with Hell Week, it was obviously extremely challenging. I mean, it has to be. You're awake for 5.5 days or whatever it is. But at the same time, I think that one of the things that I had going for me from day one, probably through Hell Week, because I think that my outlook changed after Hell Week a little bit, and I'll tell you why. But I was still very much in like the honeymoon phase of being at Buds. I mean, I've only been here for a month, and I'm doing something that I want to do more than anything else. And to have just the chance to be in Hell Week was just really special. It felt like I was doing something that was so cool and so reputable and so important that I was nervous going into it and worried about it, but also I felt very privileged to have a chance to just say I was even in Hell Week. I mean, there are plenty of guys that don't even get to Hell Week. They quit on day 5 or something. And then when Hell Week started, I would say it was almost a relief, because obviously, on the way Hell Week works is they put you in like a holding area, like 12 hours or 24 hours before you start. And they put us in the Buds classroom, which is right near the beach. And we were just like watching movies and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then at some point, every class knows, they tell you to head out to the beach. And on the beach are these military style tents with cots in them. And you go out there and you sit in these tents and you're waiting for Breakout to start. That's how all Hell Weeks start. And the instructors just come out of nowhere with flashbangs and, fake rounds. They're firing off into the air from their machine guns. And I remember when Breakout started, when our main instructor, this beast of a man, I'll give him a shout out actually. So he's his name. Anybody who is my generation from 280 to like 295 knows who instructor is. This dude's just an absolute beast of a human being. He's like, his chest is like this wide, looks like a Navy SEAL. If you said, what does a Navy SEAL look like? And you didn't know, you'd say, that's what it looks like. He's the guy. He's like so intimidating. But the thing about him is he was like ridiculously like intense and strict and would be like really nasty, but he was super fair. Everybody appreciated that would be very fair with you. If you did something right and you got called out for it and it was like wrong, he'd like correct it. So he was for the people. But remember, I saw walking past my tent carrying like an M60 in one hand, both hands actually, had 2 M60s. He's walking past the tent flap and I saw a glow and I'm like this little withered away, like 150-pound dude that's like gotten his ass kicked for 3 weeks. And I was like, I can't believe it's going to start. And then Glow was like, all right, boys, like a booming deep voice. He's like, let's go. And he begins firing off his gun and we all just stream out of the tents yelling hoo-yah and running into the ocean. It was like crazy, and because you don't sleep for, save for a couple of hours throughout the week, I mean, it all bled in. It's all blended in together to like this weird experience that I couldn't tell you when certain things happen on certain days. I remember Breakout, and I remember like doing, when you run around the base with a boat on your head, like base tour, I think it's called. I remember doing rocking chairs as the sun came up, where you're laying in the surf and you're facing the ocean. So your head's on the sand, your legs are in the water, the tide's coming up to your nose and hitting you, and you're like rocking with your feet back to the sand, and then you come back down again, like over and over and over again. Or you might be oriented the other way, but either way, every time your head goes back, the surf goes up your nose. Yeah. And I remember like doing that as the sun was coming up, and that's day 1 is now complete. And I'm like, oh my God, this is day 1 of 5.5. But yeah, you just kind of keep going. And early on in our Hell Week, we had so many people quit. Not because it was hard, just because of fear and anxiety and anticipation. All these people quit. And it was like, I'm sure you remember this. It motivated me to stick around. The more you hear the bell, like the more you want to keep going, because you don't want to be a bell guy. You want to be a SEAL. And so it was kind of empowering in the early parts of Hell Week when it's so chaotic and it's so noisy and hard that me and my buddy right next to me, we're just like laughing because it's like, this is fucking insanity. Like, what's even happening right now? Everybody's quitting and I'm getting a fire hose in my face. It's just like chaos. So I think that I tried to appreciate the moment. It was horrible and miserable and all those things, but it was also like a dream come true in a way.
Yeah.
And so that kept me around. And then also, I was married and I didn't want my wife, who had moved out to San Diego by this point, or she was about to, and like reoriented her life to be a part of this with me. I didn't want to quit and be stuck in the Navy for 4 years. So I had that as a very powerful motivator. And then also my dad, proving my dad wrong, that I could become a SEAL. It allowed me to get through Hell Week and relatively easily, in the sense that I survived Hell Week.
I guess looking back, I haven't thought about Hell Week in a long time.
Yeah.
But, it is in a weird way, it is somewhat of a simulation of combat, because you want to go. Nobody becomes a SEAL not wanting to go to war, at least not that I've met. And there's all this anticipation to get into war, just like Hell Week. That's the first big step. And then you get there and you're like, oh, this does suck.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to be here. And I'm glad we're in the moment, in the fight here. And then a couple days goes by and you're like, I just want to go home and get some fucking hot chow.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of the and it is the experience, although how different it is a good simulation. It's a good test.